Ready to be mesmerized at a night of stunning fashion and electrifying music as 1957 event proudly presents Rhythms on the Runway, the Kente edition. From Accra, Ghana to the world, this is a spectacular fusion of fashion and music to ignite your spirit. Enjoy live performances featuring the legendary Asabia Cropper, Edem, Amanziba, Nasi, Episode, Kamido, Kwabna, along with comedy from DKB. Join us at the Grand Arena on Saturday, November 30th. Red carpet starts at 7 p.m. Showtime 8 p.m. Visit www.rhythmsontherunway.com to purchase your tickets or call the hotline on 053-553-4756. 200 cities for standard, 400 cities for premium. This event is brought to you in partnership with Beyond the Return and sponsored by Johnny Walker, Caveman Watches, Ghana Tourism Authority, Goldcrest Refinery. Step out in style with a hint of Kente and dress to kill. Rhythms on the Runway, the Kente edition is a 1957 event. Media partner, City FM and Channel 1 TV.
You're welcome. So swing constituencies or swing regions are significant, but so are strongholds, and that's why we are focusing today on the Ashanti region. For the past few weeks, we've been telling you about swing regions, how they behave over the period. But how have strongholds behaved, and what are the numbers, and how significant are they? Bernard Avle, you're welcome.
Thank you, Umaru, Sanda.
How are you doing?
Very well.
It's good, it's good. It's almost, 2 weeks to election 2024.
Yes.
And we are counting down.
Yes.
And it's going to be a big night for everybody.
Yes.
And with the media, of course.
Yeah.
Why are we focusing on Ashanti region?
So in the past couple of days, we've looked at the swing regions and the voter increases. Greater Accra region, the ultimate swing region, has the most voters. We looked at that. We looked at Central region and the voter increases there. We looked also at the Bono areas. In fact, we can summarize the swing regions in a very interesting chart I'll show you shortly. My theory is that in Ghana, it's the strongholds that it's very reverse psychology. Initially, you say the strongholds give you the base and the swing regions tip it. But I'm going to flip it and say the swing regions are so close that your turnout in your stronghold is actually going to determine whether you win or not. So your World Bank has to show up for you to tip you over.
It has to prove to be a World Bank.
Good. So what is
no shortcomings.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select the key swing regions, and then I'm going to show you how close they are and how they behave.
Okay. Together.
Good. Then I'll show you why Ashanti and Eastern, Ashanti in particular strong for MPP, Volta, the old Volta, Upper East and Upper West are NDC stronghold. Now, the North can become a swing region if you want, but we are not yet there. So let me just show you something quickly. I'm going to pick the non-strongholds. And so, Central region, Greater Accra region, okay? I'm taking Ahafo, Bono, and Bono East.
That's one.
Good. And I'm adding Western.
And Western North.
Wonderful. Now, I want you to see something here. First, look at, this is the historical performance. So I've basically carved out Ghana without Ashanti, Eastern, Volta, and the North. So I've basically moved from the center to the Western enclave.
So remove Ashanti and Eastern in the middle.
Good. Now I want you to see something. In this chart that I have here, you notice how wildly it swings. So let's start with 96. NDC wins those 4 old regions 55% to 42%. In 2000, MPP is 51, NDC 43. The runoff 60.
They go up.
Good. So this 60-39 was the mood of the nation, because the strongholds they were doing their own thing. 2004, 54-43 for MPP. 2008 swings back to NDC. 50-46. Runoff 53-46 for NDC. 2012 52-46, still NDC. 2016 exact switch, 52 NPP. But look at 2020. This is a very important story. In 2020, Sanda, the country outside of the North, Ashanti, Eastern, and Volta
was
divided. You had 49.87 for MPP, 48.68 for NDC. So this is an interesting, and look at the chart. All right. So my first point is that these regions are narrowing. So in a way, it's not these guys who determine the victory. It's more like what the other people do for their...
That's what... Okay, so that's the reverse. I'm just looking at the wowness of these figures. And Bernard,
yes.
The wind of change that blew in 2000, we have not seen this like since.
Never.
Because even 2016, they were low. Because if 2000 was 60% for the runoff.
So
in 2008, we had a
runoff was the biggest wind of change in the Fourth Republic. To the extent that it also has MPP's biggest Ashanti margin. Guess what it was in terms of percentage?
I can't even.
It was 79%.
Wow, almost 80.
So 2000 runoff was the biggest performance for MPP in Ashanti. It wasn't yet 80. So we'll come back to the 85 prediction. But you're right. The mood of the nation in the second half of 2000 was so pro-change that the country outside Ashanti, Eastern, North, and Volta went 60% MPP, 39% NDC.
The incumbent at the time. And they've now done, that has not been repeated.
No, because 2016, where you said there was a huge wind of change, it wasn't that much. Because you see, in 2016, MPP basically just flipped this.
2012.
Yes. And I call these regions, they are just 4 regions. So this is Bono, Ahafo, Western, Central, Greater Accra. This is just what I've done.
Yes.
These 4 regions, in 2016, the swing wasn't that serious. It was just basically flipping 2012.
Yeah.
And then in 2020, they basically were not sure where they were supporting.
I think I know the solution for 2020, Bernard. Greater Accra region has been the sellout of this block in 2020. So that if Greater Accra did not behave the way it behaved, the lead would have been comfortable.
And the reason why that's an important point is that there are 4 regions. Bono, Ahafo, Western, Central, Greater Accra. In 2020, 3 went for MPP. But because from 2020, Greater Accra became the biggest region in the country, their 100 and something thousand margin was almost enough to make the region 50-50. So my theory is that Greater Accra's turnout becomes, and direction, becomes the almost, what's the word I want to use? The causal anchor in the swing regions.
Yeah, the biggest chunk.
Yes, so because it's just 1 against 3, but they basically, because they are such a big region, if the gap is big, it annihilates Central, Western, and the old bonus
Because
margins.
they went with the group in 2016, it was a comfortable win.
Yes.
In 2012, it was a comfortable one. And it's all around 52%. So 2008 was 53%.
Yes.
2008, the main election was 50%. But I'm looking at the 2020 again.
Yes.
If this was a national election, first past the post, there would have to be a rerun.
Yes.
Because there's no clear winner of the...
Yes.
So we can't really say NPP has won the swing regions or NDC has. They've split it neck and neck.
Very important point. So the summary of this first point is that the swing regions are becoming very close. Although my caveat is that Greater Accra's larger population and population growth could give it more impact in the 4 than the other 3.
So if I was a political party research officer and you were advising me, you were simply saying to me that, listen, swing regions are important because they determine election, but fix your base first. Otherwise, swing may not necessarily grant you a win.
Fantastic point, because if you look at this chart and you're surprised at the 2000 runoff, let me flip this, all right? Let me flip this.
So we're going to strongholds now.
Yes, let me flip this and do the strongholds of the main parties historically, all right? So now I'm coming to pick the key regions that do well. Ashanti, Eastern for MPP, Volta, Oti for NDC.
Would you want to add Upper East and West?
Yes, Upper East, Upper West, and the North.
Yeah.
I'm now doing the counterfactual.
So Savannah,
Northern, Northeast. So I'm now doing the opposite of what I've done.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what do we have? Very interesting situation. And by the way, when you do that in 2012, it's a dead heat.
Again.
49%, 49 in 2012. So that was the, but key point, that was the only year apart from 96 that NDC matches MPP. When you take the non-swing regions and you put them together, Eastern and Ashanti being for MPP,
and the rest
North, Upper East, Upper West, Volta being for NDC, MPP has a general better performance than NDC except in 96. So look at this. In 96, NDC wins it 57 to 38. From 2000 all through, MPP wins it. So let's go through one by one. The 2000 run of 54-45. The other biggest performance was 2016, 54-44. All right. So my point is that in the 2012 for the non-strongholds, it was a much smaller margin, but it was 52, so a 10-point gap in 2016. So my point is that in 2016, it was the turnout of the MPP strongholds that tipped the election for them as against the turnout for the NDC strongholds. Because apart from 96, where NDC wins the combined strongholds thing, 2012, it was a dead heat. Every time else, MPP wins. Even with 2020, where the thing split, 52 NPP, 46. So when you combine the strongholds, MPP's two, just Ashanti and Eastern, is better than Upper East, Upper West, the Old North, Volta, and OT together. So the story is about the size and might of Ashanti.
So Ashanti makes, okay, so if you took Ashanti out, but of course you can't take Ashanti out because of the numbers.
So let's take Eastern out and see what it does. Maybe to see, let's take Eastern out of the equation and see whether it gives you any more interesting
So this
outcome.
will be NDC stronghold versus
Ashanti alone. Wonderful point. So Sanda is forming some equations here. So we are taking every NPP, all NDC strongholds against Ashanti alone. And this is what we get. It's very interesting. 96-2000, NDC would win it. But even in 2000, it's a draw. So 96-58, NDC, 37 MPP. But in 2000 first round, Ashanti against NDC strongholds, it was 45-45. Split. 2000 runoff, even with that, 52-47. Right? 2004, Kufuor as president, it's a split. 47-47. 2008, when NDC wins the election, Ashanti alone does better than all these guys. 2008 runoff, Ashanti alone 51 does better. 2012, however, NDC gets 50%, NPP gets 47%. And then in the more recent elections, MPP wins. You can understand why Dr. Baumia has spent 3 weeks in Ashanti region. Because if Ashanti compared to Volta, Northern, Upper East, Upper West, can give you this split scenario, you get it. And by the way, if you look at constituencies...
So you're saying simply, Bernard, that if the MPP wins Ashanti well, no matter how well NDC does in its strongholds, the cumulative effect is that NDC comes second.
Which is why, correct, which is why historically, MPP's presidential performance has always been better compared to their parliamentary. Their presidential performance is very good because the residual numbers in Ashanti... So this chart I've shown you has how many regions? North, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions against one region. So obviously the parliamentary seats will be more for the NDC. But for presidential, the MPP will still compete throughout, just one region. They compete favorably.
I would be interested in seeing the parliamentary because the number of constituencies in Ashanti is huge. So huge that it may actually cancel out.
No, it will not. Because Sanda,
let's not 47 and they get like 44, 40.
So looking, for example, let me make this interesting for you. So let me show you the 2012 when NDC had a majority in parliament, right? 2012 NDC has a majority in parliament. Just look at the NDC wins 5 constituencies in Ashanti: Asamase, New Edubiase, and then the 3 ring road, the outer ring constituencies, like Sechurafran Plains.
Yes, Sechurafran Plains.
Almost all of the north, NDC, NPP. So, in terms of parliamentary seats,
hard numbers,
NDC would have had a lot because they have 7 regions. So it's the volume of votes in Ashanti region that's causing this voter split. Which is why, and let me do one last thing before I move from here. Which is why what you need to do now is to look at Ashanti performance alone.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Ashanti performance alone, and then you can decide for yourself what is really going on with this election. So let's just take Ashanti region alone. All right? So Ashanti region alone, and let's look at performance.
Historical analysis.
Wonderful. So now, here you have...
Is this parliamentary or presidential?
I'm still on presidential.
Okay.
We'll come to parliamentary later. Ashanti region alone, from 96 to 2020. Now, percentage, highest percentage is runoff 2000, 79.89, still below 80. Lowest performance, 96, 65. So let's assume we are using the since 2000. The lowest performance has been the 2008 first round, which has led to this schism in the MPP that Akufo-Addo did not win
Ashanti
the first round of the 2008 election because he was in the lead. The view is that the Ashanti performance in that election was below par. 2000 first round, 75. Second round, 79. 2004, 74. So they were in the mid to upper 70s until 2008, where he got 72. And that was the year that, even though the runoff gave him 74, it was too late because the whole nation rallied around Mills. So you can see from the strategy of MPP that they're trying to prevent this scenario of apathy and a low turnout.
And 2012 was bad.
And don't forget that in the 2008 situation, Alan was the favorite child of Kufuor.
Yes.
And there was a feeling that Akufo-Addo having won it, there was this schism around the Ashantis will not support an Achim person for whatever reason. That 72 became proverbial. So you notice that 2012 as well, up until the 2008 round of 2012, where NDC again wins, Ashanti gives NPP 70%. The lowest in that time series since 96. Again, it took that low turnout, NDC getting 28%, which is why there's this theory in NDC that their performance in Ashanti
determines their
right. So victory. In years that NDC wins national elections, look at it, 2008, they get 26%. 2012, they get 28%. In 2020, they got actually better than 2008.
Yeah.
So which is why some NDC folk were saying, hang on, 2020, we got 26%. MPP got 72%. How are we not winning this election? Because this our 26 is
similar to 2008.
It's our second best in the time series, apart from 2008.
Actually, it's actually the best.
About 2012.
Okay, yes.
So there were some NDC guys who were saying, hold on, how can we get 26% in Ashanti and not winning this election? And the problem for MPP is that here is the second term of Akufo-Addo, 2020. Typically, the second term you consolidate. So for him to drop from 70, almost 76 to 74
percentage
70, yeah. So what's happening to MPP? So you can tell a lot of the activity in Ashanti is informed by history. The 2008 first round history and the drop in 2016, which is asking. So he spent almost 3 weeks.
Show me Kufuor Ashanti versus Akufo-Addo Ashanti.
Wonderful.
So
the best way to look at this is
from 96 is Kufuor.
Yes. Now the reason I don't like adding 96 is that it's dated. All right. So let's just say fine. Kufuor's first attempt was 96. He gets 65%. In 2000, he jumps 10% to 75. Now, MPP has never gone below 70 since 2000. So you can say Kufuor built that momentum for them. 2000 runoff, he gets almost 80%. This is Kufuor, second round poll, like, you know what, this guy has to win this election. 80%.
So let's go all out. 2004,
where Kufuor is president, it's similar to the 2000 first round, right? 74.8.
Which is like the standard percentage of win.
2008, when Akufo-Addo comes, he drops to 72. In the runoff, however, he goes back to 75. So in the runoff, he does as well as Kufuor's 2004. But runoffs are interesting because in runoffs, because you remove the other parties, you will definitely do better. So runoffs is not a good way to use. So if you compare Akufo-Addo to Kufuor, Akufo-Addo's first attempt 72, Kufuor's main attempt 75. Kufuor's runoff, Kufuor's second round 74, Akufo-Addo 70. Before Akufo-Addo's
victory in
75 and 72. So Kufuor is much stronger in MPP in Ashanti than Akufo-Addo, quite clearly.
Even though when Akufo-Addo won in 2016, he did better than Kufuor in 2004.
But not as good as Kufuor in 2000 runoff. He actually did better than Kufuor in first round of 2000.
Yeah, okay.
So 2016, MPP, Ashanti, massive.
It was a good win for them.
Massive. Massive.
Now, you're going to translate these numbers for us, aren't you?
So I just want to say, because of the size of Ashanti and what I just shown you, people pay careful attention to voter increases in Ashanti and where they take place. So when we come back...
So before I do the voter increase, so the NDC's performance in Ashanti, what do you say about that? It appears 96, something good happened for them. And since then, they appear
their
to
best
get the
performance, 2008, 26%, which they repeated in 2020, 2012, 28%.
So you don't want to talk about 96?
Yeah, I mean...
Would that be Rawlings? Or?
Yes, Rawlings is a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
We are not... Look, Democracy 92, Rawlings won almost 60% of the vote.
Yeah.
96 as well. So I can say competitive elections from 96 going, fine.
After 2000.
But from 2000, you can tell that it was a more balanced field.
Okay.
All right. So
NDC's best performance would be 2012 in Ashanti.
28%.
28%.
And in 2020, even though they lost the election, their 26% was much better than most years.
That's why so now you are interested in how many weeks Bawumia spending there. When I interviewed Nana Komia, he said the constituency has 47, the region has 47 constituencies.
Yeah.
And he spends on the average 3 constituencies 1 day. So 1 day.
And it's big. So it's a big constituency. Let me just do something final for you. I want to just show you where NDC tends to do well in Ashanti. So there are about 4 constituencies. Asawase in the middle. Then you have Setrafram Plains. You have Ejura, New Edubiase, Ejura, Secheredumase. And then for some strange reason in 2012, they also won Ofinso North. But the main places they do well are 4. Asawase in the middle, Setrafram Plains, Ejura, Secheredumase, and then New Edubiase. Those are their 4.
Are these presidential elections?
Yes. And then their parliamentarians also tend to follow.
While you are touching the map, something is happening with the graph.
Yes.
I want you to look at Setrafram Plains. Let's see how the performance has been for.
All right. So I'm in Setrafram Plains. My map, my data, because they...
Okay. So we start from 2008.
Yes. Setrafram Plains is still 18% gap for NDC. They do pretty well there. Let me take Ejura Secheredumase. Ejura Secheredumase, NDC's won it every election except 2000 runoff.
Wow.
So, and it's a comfortable 10% gap. Ejura Secheredumase. Let me take Asawase. NDC's won it 56 all the way. Almost a 15% gap. Strong NDC. Then let me take the last one, New Edubiase as well. The only time MPP did something was 2016. Apart from that, NDC's won it. So these are NDC strongholds in Ashanti.
I'll come back. We'll look at the parliamentary performance. This is Situation Room on Channel 1 Television. My name is Umaru, Sanda. Amadu here with Bernard Avle. We are focusing on Ashanti Region today. The raw numbers coming from there. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. This is Channel 1 Television. Situation Room is the program. My name is Umaru, Sanda. I'm here with Bernard Avle.
This election season, Channel 1 TV is bringing you closer to every vote, every constituency, and every result. Our team will provide in-depth, data-driven analysis to show you what each vote means for our nation.
From the campaign trail to voting day and the final declaration of results, Channel 1 Television is covering it all. We'll be on the ground in all 276 constituencies, so every voice is heard and every community represented.
Our comprehensive election coverage brings you every key moment and every voice,
with updates from all stakeholders nationwide. This is election news you can trust, powered by the latest data and expert analysis.
Join us on Channel 1 TV for election coverage that keeps you informed and engaged.
We're here for every step of the journey.
Channel 1 TV, your election bureau.
Situation All-White Christmas Party is back! This Christmas Eve, forget the usual and step into a celebration like none other. The Situation All-White Christmas Party is taking over the city with music, magic, and memories waiting to be made. Think cozy vibes, electric beats, and the perfect blend of festive cheer and wild energy all in one space. Date 24th December 2024. Venue The Underbridge, East Legon. Time 8 p.m. Dress code, it's an all-white affair. Come and dance like nobody's watching. Sip, mingle, make merry, and unwrap the ultimate Christmas Eve experience. Dress to impress, bring your holiday spirit, and let's make the Situation All-White Christmas Party unforgettable. Call 0205-973-973 for table reservations and get ready to party. It's going to be lit at the Underbridge. The Situation All-White Christmas Party 2024 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 City FM and proudly sponsored by Orica Ghana, sole distributors of Carlsberg and Kiss Beer.
You're welcome back. This is Channel 1 Television. Situation Room is the program. My name is Umaru, Sanda. I'm here with Bernard Avle. Bernard, so we've seen the performance of Ashanti. We've also, you have data on how many more people have registered in Ashanti. What does that mean to the votes? And also, what more do you want to share with us?
So the Ashanti situation means that you need to look at how voter growth in the region is behaving to tell you what's going to happen there. Now, first thing you notice is, of course, Ashanti has 3.29, so they are the second largest, about 400K lower than Greater Accra. Their growth was just 9%. So Ashanti's growth is below the national average in terms of registered voters. All right. Now that's an important parameter because new voters shows enthusiasm. And I showed you this last week that Northeast, Savannah, North had a lot of new voters. Yeah. And that agrees with their voter intentions. Yeah. Yeah. Greater Accra, Eastern, Ashanti, and to an extent Western, the percentage increase in registrations was not that good, which also tells you voter intentions because people register if they're enthusiastic to vote. Number 3, NCCE data, Afrobarometer data tells us that the group that say they are not willing to vote, a larger chunk is from the new voters, 18 to 29. So my point is, if new voters want to vote, they'll register. So registration can be a proxy for willingness to vote, or lack of registration can be a proxy for apathy. So my point is, if somebody's growth in voters is below average, it's a problem. Greater Accra region, and to make that point, Sanda, to make that point, let me just do this. To make that point, let me show you Greater Accra region. All right? Greater Accra region, 6% growth in voter. So new people are not registering. So even though Greater Accra has 230,000 new voters, it's only a 6.7% increase. Okay, let's go back. Let me try another one where the growth wasn't that much. Western, all right, 8%. It's below the national average.
Let's do Eastern.
You want me to show Eastern?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. You want to see how Eastern grew?
Yes, so that whether there's enthusiasm there or apathy.
Eastern grew by 10.3%. That's the national average.
Eastern has done well.
All right. Now, Ashanti grew by 9%. So the enthusiasm is not there. Let's compare to other regions' growth quickly. Volta, 12%, 12.9, almost 13. Slightly, it's much better.
Above the national average.
Above the national average. Let's look at OT's growth. 9%. OT is 9% strange because OT actually grew, but because of Guan.
Okay.
So Guan led to a reduction in Hohwe.
Okay.
So OT actually had 32,000 new voters.
Okay.
So that 9% understates it. But OT, which is why in the map OT is orange.
OT is orange.
Another place where new registrations were not that much, Upper West, 10%, similar to the national average. Upper East, 12%, similar to Volta. And then you have your Bono enclave. So if you look at this map, Greater Accra, Ashanti, and Western are the three lowest growers, which agrees with the voter intention theory. Okay. So now let's stay with Ashanti. 275,000 new voters is a lot. It's 9%. It's more than Greater Accra, but it's lower than Volta, and it's lower than Upper East, similar to Upper West. So that's the first issue. Second issue with Ashanti is that the places the growth is taking place, very interesting. Now, go back to this map. Go back to this map. Just go back to that map and stand by it. Go to the right side of the map. Okay. Yes. No, go to this side. Now, point out the NDC areas for me. Point the first NDC area for me.
So the periphery.
No, start from the one closest to you.
Okay, so okay.
New Edubiasi. Good. New Edubiasi. Let's check New Edubiasi growth. New Edubiasi voter increase is 9%, similar to the Ashanti average. Now go to the top, the one close to you. No, close to you.
CitiuationRoom Plains.
CitiuationRoom Plains voter registration increase is the highest in Ashanti, 21%.
An NDC area.
Yes. My point is that, just click on your map. The next one, New Ejirasi. New voters, 14%. Also had an Ashanti average. All right?
Okay. Then we'll do Offenso North, which is a new one for them.
Yes, but this is 2012, by the way. And Offenso North, again, 20% increase. So go back.
Then we'll go to Asawase.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm trying to say. The growth in Ashanti is in the outskirts. It's not in the inside. You need to pay careful attention to that. That doesn't mean anything necessarily. It doesn't mean NDC benefits or MPP benefits. But it's just an interesting coincidence that and by the way, your light blue on the left is also MPP, but not as deeply as the middle.
Okay.
And in the same vein, look at that. Look at this deep red.
That's also
Ahafo North grew by 16%.
So that's Ahafo North.
You see where I'm going? So my point is that in places where you have light blue and green, you also have deep red. So light blue and green shows you green is NDC victory, light blue is MPP victory, less so. Deep red on this map is telling you more registration. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, why are more people registering around the region and not in the center of the region? It could be the same. It could be the Accra theory. It could be that population grows outwards so that the peri-urban areas could be growing. It could also be a coincidence that these are constituencies that MPP doesn't do as well. So that's theory 2. It could also be, Sanda, that the adjoining constituencies, regions also have growth. Let's prove that point. So let me take Ahafo and see how the growth in Ahafo works. Now look at what's going on. This is Ahafo North. Esutefi South is a neighbor. Both of them grew 15%. Tano North grew by 12%. Similar to, okay, let me take Tano South. Tano North is 16%, right? Its neighbor is Offenso North. So you notice that the reds...
There's a spillover.
You see what I'm saying? The reds are together. So what could be going on is that this is Ahafo, southern part of Ahafo, and then northwestern part of Ashanti, all growing. So this could be a migration issue, but the continuities are very interesting to observe, that the three Ahafo constituencies in the south, and then the outskirts of Ashanti, the Ahafo areas, are growing very high. So this growth is not region specific, it's area specific. Let me do another one for you.
Give me the region to the northern side of...
Wonderful. Let me take, you are attacking Bono East.
Yes.
So let's take it one by one. Your biggest growers in Ashanti, CitiuationRoom Plains is red.
Yeah.
Now look at Nkranza North. All right?
Okay.
Look at Sene West.
Okay. Okay.
You see what's going on?
Okay.
So, Sanda, could it be that these places are growing because of migration, and that inside Ashanti, the growth is not as much as the bordering of the region? Could this be spill-offs?
So eating the region from outside, that's almost like how it's looking like.
And by the way, if you join these regions on your map as well, you will notice that there are more NDC areas. So I don't want to make a conclusion that people registered more in the NDC area. So you want to add Bono East.
So Bono East.
Bono East. Look at that. Just look how you've done. You see the green?
A lot of green.
See what's going on there?
But it's 2012.
Go to 2020.
So let me take you to 2020.
It will come back. Just collapse. Yes, yeah. Look at it. Look at it. It's still the same.
Whoa.
So you see what's going on there?
Interesting.
So we don't know if we obviously can tell that the places in Ashanti NDC does well are bordering either Bono East or some parts of Ahafo.
And if you, okay, so, and these are NDC areas.
Yes.
And so what you are trying to say is that a lot more people registered in constituencies that are traditionally tilting towards the NDC in an Ashanti stronghold of MPP. That's how it's looking like. Is that
yes. But I don't know why.
Okay.
So I am saying what you are saying, but I'm saying it could be 3 reasons.
And you have 3 reasons of speculations.
I'm speculating that it could be that there is a lot of interest in the NDC areas because of enthusiasm among MPP people.
NDC people.
NDC people. Mm-hmm. Because don't forget I said that when registration is low, it's an indication of
opposition, the governing party suffers.
Lack of enthusiasm. Yeah. So if you have people registering a lot in a particular area, it could mean that. Okay. But it could also mean that MPP made sure that to close the gap, they got more of their people to register. So we cannot conclude and say that because the growth is in NDC, but I think that it's safe to say that you will find that more people register in places who are unhappy than where they are happy. Which is why Volta, Upper East, and some of these regions had more registrations as a growth than Ashanti, Greater Accra, and Western.
But let me give you additional weapon for this your point that you've made. Mm-hmm. In the past, people registered for the voter card, not necessarily because they want to vote. Mm-hmm. They need it as an ID to prove something at the bank. Mm-hmm. With the onset of the Ghana card,
yes,
anyone who goes for a voter's card is going for it just for voting purposes.
Thank you.
So if you see more people getting the voter's card, you can't say that, oh, he needs it because he wants to go and use it for the bank.
Yeah.
Because everything now is Ghana card. So I think this is your point.
And when we went to Northeast and North and Savannah last week, we saw clearly the enthusiasm in registration matching the increased voter intention. Mm-hmm. So I can theorize and say that this Ashanti increase in voters in the outskirts could be a question of opposition rallying its troops to register more. Because the MPP strongholds in Ashanti tends to be in the middle. So the key to understand inner Ashanti is to look at it as 3 rings. So your first round of rings is very close to Kumasi itself. Now let's look at how the numbers change. So I'm starting from Inshaeso. It was a 5% increase in votes or registered voters, which is pretty small, okay? Now take another one, Asokwa, 6%. That's not very high, all right? Now, take Oforikrom, 8%, still below the national average. Meanwhile, we're looking at the 15s and 16s in the outskirts, all right? Let's take another one, Old Tafo, 10%, which is probably the highest in the inner Ashanti. Even Asawase, which is an NDC stronghold, only 7.48% increase in registrations. Let's take another one in inside at Kumasi. So I'm taking Suame, where Chemensa, 7.4. The numbers are not that wild. Now let me try and go outside the first ring. So let me do the second ring outside Kumasi. Achuma Kwawuma, 6%. 6% growth is below the national average, all right? Let me try Bosomche, 8% growth. Don't forget the national average is 10. Take Achwemang Mabieja South, 9.2, still below the national average. Take Achwemang Mabieja North, 8%. All right. Take Efija Kwabre South, 7.6%. Kwabre East, which is the largest, Efija Kwabre South, 7.9%. Okay. Ejiso, 9.09. Right. You can say that because the Accra Kumasi Road goes through Ejiso. Ejiso is like where Central Kumasi's expansion can come to. Ejiso gives you not even 10% increase in voter population. Jabin, 9.8%. Something is very interesting about the Kumasi and Ashanti numbers where the growth doesn't seem in the center. Let me give you another one. Manson Kwanta, 5% increase, all right? Take another one. Manso Edubia, 3.69%. What on earth is going on? Take Abuase West, 7%, all right? Say, let's take Bosome Frehon, 10, not bad. Adansi Asokwa, KT Hammond, 9%. So, with the exception of the outskirts, where the growth is above the national average, for some very interesting reason, the main inner Ashanti registrations were not that high. Of course, the new Edibiase registration is also below 10, and new Edibiase NDC tends to do well. But quite a lot of the outskirts do very well in numbers. But all these guys, Asante Akim Central, 9%. All right? Let's try Efijasi Asokori, 10%. Okay? Asante Akim North, however, gives you 13%. Okay? Let's try a few more just to see whether this trend can be buckled. New Edubiase, as I said, 9%. Bosome Frehon, 9%. Actually, 10%. All right? And then let me test this last one and see what I'm getting. Asante Akim Central, 9. So, the further outside you go in Ashanti, the more people are registering. The closer you go to Kumasi, the fewer people are registering. Subin, 9%. All right? So, make of that what you would, but clearly, there's an issue to be discussed there. Even Bantama, the almighty Bantama, Menchia South, right? Menchia South, which is Menchia North registered 7% more. If you add Swami, Bantama is what? Bantama is giving you 7% increase. These are not very appreciable numbers. So on average, all the central Kumasi constituencies put together, the average registration growth is 7.11% or 7.30%. Clearly, the enthusiasm to register may not have resulted in the votes you were expecting. But obviously, there are other theories which we can discuss in terms of why this growth is this way.
Bernard, so your message on Ashanti, the key takeaways are what? One,
the Ashanti region's growth in population by way of percentage is below the national average.
Okay.
That suggests that the enthusiasm in registration was not as much as the North, Volta, and possibly Upper East. Mm-hmm. That's point number one. Mm-hmm. The places that grew the most in Ashanti were in the outskirts, typically the NDC areas. So that could mean anything. Number three, in the biggest Ashanti constituencies, the growth was below 10%. It was below national average. So registration wasn't as much. And we don't know whether it's because the national ID has replaced the voter ID, so people don't really need a voter ID again, and therefore voter ID becomes the real proxy of voter intentions. Be that as it may, Ashanti's 200K or more new voters will still be very formidable for where this election goes, because Ashanti alone was able to cater for Volta, the old Volta, Upper East, Upper West, and North in some elections.
Okay.
So Ashanti is going to be crucial. Turnout and voter splits.
And the bottom or the basis for our conversation tonight is where you have shown us that if you do not win your base well, the swing regions are not favorable. But the swing regions are being divided by halves now. They are being split.
So when I go to my next show with Vivian, we'll look at the registration and performance of the strongholds of the NDC now. Because we've looked at Ashanti
yes.
and the numbers. So you need to turn out in your stronghold.
Otherwise, the
You're in big
periphery will not
trouble.
help you. Well, that's how we end today's edition of the Situation Room on Channel 1 Television. My name is Umaru, Sanda, Amadu. I did this with Bernard Avle. Bernard will be back with Vivian, and they will focus on the Volta region. Please stay with us.
Welcome to another edition of What the Papers Are Saying, where we bring you the big stories for the week and dissect them as reported by the big media outlets. And then we look at the various angles they reported on those stories and matters arising from those stories.
The news cycle can sometimes be rather daunting. With an abundance of media houses publishing daily, where does one even begin? What the papers are saying is a one-stop shopping experience to know and understand the most important news items that made the headlines.
Then you are saying so of your opponent that he's organized boys to come and beat them. And he was